Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Magic Market Watch video. We're right in the middle of October, and it feels like, while we've had a lot of sets released recently, we're still seeing a lot of the market manipulation that is more typical of these down periods. Like right after Double Masters 2022, there was about a month where nothing was happening. So that's when I really first started discovering that there were sellers on TCGplayer actually manipulating the direct feature and the card optimizer on that website. For those who need to be caught up, the direct feature is used for convenience. So instead of getting 100 cards from several different sellers, you could optimize your cart in order to get them all from the same seller if they happen to sell cards that are currently in the inventory of TCGplayer. This cuts down costs on shipping if you don't have to spend shipping for several different packages. It's just all around way more convenient, at least in theory. However, the convenience does come at a significant cost, way more than you might be expecting, because some of the top sellers, in fact, I think this is one of the biggest sellers, is still doing it after, I think people have been discussing this for some time now, at least a couple months. If you think you're just getting some random bulk rare from a Commander product, you may be spending $5 to $10 more than what you should if you happen to use a card optimizer. So let's talk about the first card here. The first gainer of the week is Loyal Guardian. It's an uncommon from Commander 2018 and it got a reprint in the Kamigawa deck. So it's not exactly hard to find, it's not something that is highly sought after for a specific strategy. It's a 5-mana creature that can get you +1/+1 counters on all of your creatures at the beginning of combat on your turn. You do have to control your commander. Why this is a massive red flag for me is because we have a similar creature from Dominaria United. It's way better. It's also a rare from a non-pre-constructed product, so it's going to be a lot harder to find. Why this would suddenly be creeping up closer to where that card is, even though it's worse in just about every way, doesn't make any sense. So, as always, we are using mtgstocks.com for these charts. It's a great resource that helps me out with these videos, but I always like to check TCGplayer when I'm suspicious, because that is where this data is coming from. It's coming from sales on TCGplayer. And sure enough, we get the usual suspect, last safe point, a lightly played at around $5. Now you're going to see this seller multiple times in this video. You've seen this seller several times in my previous videos. There's nothing new here. I think it's very scummy to do this because you see direct by TCGplayer. What that means is that for convenience, you may be sold something that is significantly more expensive than what it's actually worth. This only affects the market trend, folks, if there are people actually paying this price. So I'm not overreacting, this is actually affecting people. This is not a valuable card, it's not something that's highly sought after, but it doesn't matter because it is a large quantity card that several sellers would have, because when you open up a pre-con deck, you throw cards like these to the side in favor of the more expensive ones, leaving you with a lot of bulk, and that bulk ends up going to larger sellers. So those large sellers have a ton of cards like these, and they've got at least dozens of them. You see 13 of them right here for $483. There's nothing criminal about this. I've said this all along. I'm not accusing this seller or other sellers who are doing something similar. You can scalp all day, you can scalp in the United States, and you're not getting in trouble. I just think it's very disrespectful. It's not consumer friendly. You're using a feature that is meant for convenience to take advantage of customers. The next card we have is Edgewalker. Now there is some cleric support in Dominaria United. That could be a big reason why this is going up. It's always been a good card if you are interested in cleric tribal, so to no one's surprise if you do get some more here and there, you're going to go for one of the best cleric tribal cards ever made. We talked about it last week, of course, and it's not really going up to a place where it hadn't before. It's just in Zendikar Rising we got, I think, probably the best cleric tribal support, so that's why it initially jumped up around $5 to $6. But then once the dust settles and we stop receiving cleric tribal support, you're not going to see as many people looking for it, so the price went back down to reality around $2. But then we got Dominaria United, and there are some good cards for Cleric Tribal, but I could totally see history repeat itself and for it to come right back down. Maybe not to 2, but we could see this being a $3 card. Next, we have another one that is a bit suspicious. It is Boon Reflection from Double Masters. It's not a significant gain, and I will admit, for the week, we've only really seen a gain as high as 50%. So for a $3 to $4 card going up 50%, it's not going to be a massive gainer. It's an okay card if you're really leaning into pure life gain. I could see Boon Reflection being beneficial. I personally, though, would stay away from it. I have not seen any other version of Boon Reflection go up, and there's nothing really that special about this one from Double Masters. The next one is Wheel of Fate from Time Spiral Remastered. Same thing. I haven't really seen other Wheel of Fates go up. This was promoted in rarity to Mythic because back in the original Time Spiral we didn't have Mythic rares. That being said, it's not like we don't have plenty of Wheel of Fates. It was reprinted in a pre-con deck, and it's not exactly the best possible substitute for an actual Wheel of Fortune. If there's any way to take advantage of Suspend to make it even quicker in the future, I could totally see this go up even higher. But as for now, I would be a bit cautious. Again, look at the chart. Is this really more than a bulk rare? We have another Mythic here, Phyrexian Scriptures from the original Dominaria set. This was such a cool looking card when we saw it spoiled 4 years ago, but I don't think it ever really caught on in Commander. Not to say it's a bad card to play in Commander. I think if you're looking for an artifact focused board wipe, meaning that it benefits your artifact deck, you could probably play it to some benefit. But I haven't really seen anything more in the Saga theme that would really take advantage of this. It's another one of those that's going up like 40 to 50%. For the dollar amount, that's not going to add up to too much. I think this is one of those cases of a Mythic just going up because it's an okay Mythic. Again, whenever there's something like this that doesn't quite add up, I like to check TCGplayer, and we see the very first one, direct by TCGplayer, last save point. I don't want to say this is entirely the reason why it's been trending, but I could totally see someone getting duped into buying this at a much higher premium, and that being the reason why we see the trend upward on the chart. Then we have Kenrith's Transformation. We talked about this about a month and a half ago, and it was going up back then. We saw it take a little bit of a dip after that because, let's be honest, Throne of Eldraine is not a standard set anymore, and this card really isn't that great in Commander. You could totally play worse green spells for Aura decks, but is this really more than a $2 uncommon? It has been reprinted and no other versions of this card are going up. So that tells me that there's a large inventory and someone's looking to get rid of it. Again, check TCGplayer, and we get the same seller here doing the same exact thing. It's so easy to pick on them because they do things like this. Another thing I've said since the very beginning when I started investigating. Even if you don't believe my theories on the card optimizer, the direct feature, which are really a lot of other people's theories as well, you have to look at this and ask yourself, are they being honest with me? When you have a near mint version of Kenrith's Transformation for $393, and then you have another listing of it at Heavily Played for even more money, what exactly is this seller trying to accomplish? It's not just with this card, they've done it with several. Next we have Vanewitch Coven. 3 mana for a Vampire Warlock with Menace. Whenever you gain life, you may pay a black mana. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Not the greatest way of returning creature cards. You do have to pay a black mana. You do have to gain life to start it off, and it doesn't come in with built-in ways of gaining life. So I didn't realistically think this was going to be a good card. And sure enough, you look on TCGplayer, we see the same seller doing the same exact thing. My newest theory to explain why they do it like this, you have 4 separate listings of the same card for exactly the same price, but a large total inventory. You add it up, that's about 24 cards total. You sell 24 cards for about $10. That's a pretty good profit margin for what's otherwise a bulk rare. I want you to focus on this number here because this is the number of listings for Vanewitch Coven. There's 22 listings. They're playing a game of percentages here. So your chances of tricking someone into buying your incredibly high listing is only 1 in 22. You don't have a very good chance of tricking them. Now, if it's 4 in 22, your chances get a lot better. That's why we're seeing them take advantage of all these different conditions, because it allows them to list the card several times. Do you honestly think that with a set that just came out last year, you're gonna have that many heavily playeds, moderately playeds? They're looking to trick people into buying into one of their listings. Now we get to talk about some losers for the week, and to no one's surprise, Wayward Swortooth is the biggest loser, but that's only because it was manipulated last week into going up ridiculously high. It's not a $30 to $40 card, but there were people listing this for $900, and whenever there's a sale of a card, it does affect the market value. It went right back down because sure enough, there were people who were buying it again under $10. So you see a bit of a correction when it comes to the market this week. Then we get some losers for Unfinity. This is again not so much of a surprise because this happens a lot with sets that just come out. Give them a couple weeks and a lot of the chase cards, or just really any card, will go down 80%. There's the fear of missing out that affects them in the first week, so people think that cards are worth a lot more than they actually will be, and we see that with Magar of the Magic Strings, which I like as a commander, but I share the sentiment with a lot of you. Magic's kind of selling out, it's getting too goofy. One of these was nice every few years. You pile this onto all the other things we've got, like the crossovers with Transformers, Warhammer, all the secret layer stuff that's constantly coming out, and it just feels like a gigantic mess. We get another Unfinity card. Unfortunately, on MTG stocks, I don't have the artwork, so I'll just overlay it there for you. Space Balerin. Do you guys get it? It's funny because space rhymes with Jace. We get Comet Stellar Pup, another one that's going down. I think these were some of the ones that were the highest going into the first week. That's why they tend to trend as some of the biggest losers for the week. The dust settles, people start to realize, wow, these aren't really that great. We have Jandor's Saddlebags, which is not a reserve list card, but it is a really cool card from Arabian Nights. You can pay 3 mana and untap a creature. Hopefully this isn't a trend. I have noticed that there's a lot of cards that aren't even reserve list, but you're talking some pretty high dollar cards. We've seen this with Mishra's Workshop, Bizarre Baghdad, you know, the big dollar cards. I really don't want that to be because of the 30th anniversary product, which is one of those products where I think the entire community just about is on the same page. We haven't really seen this many people angry over the same exact thing. I've seen several comments, at least 3, where someone said that either they were giving up the game, they were selling their entire collections, or that they knew other people who were. It's a massive middle finger, and I hate that product for being as expensive as it is, because it's not so much that they're teasing a reprint of reserve list cards, because they're technically not reprinting legal cards. It's that they're doing it in a way that is trying to affect the secondary market. You're basically telling people, yeah, these could be used as proxies, but why don't you guys just come and pay us $1,000 for the chance of getting a proxy Black Lotus? What were they thinking? 2022 has just been a massive shit the bed year for Wizards. You had Double Masters 2022, that packaging tricking several people on eBay. They thought they were getting 4 packs. Well, it turns out they have the same exact looking box. So if you didn't look at the fine print, you may end up getting just 1 pack, but spending the same as if it were for the 4. They need to go full damage control 2023. Because I know they have these products listed several months in advance, even years in advance, and they can't really change it. But Wizards of the Coast, if you have something similar to any of these massive failures planned for next year, scrap them. Do away with them because you are hemorrhaging fans at this point. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the Market Watch. Let me know what you think about these in the comment section below. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.